This is Saida Garrett, and I'm tuned in to Intro to Info with my girl Mikeisha.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. It's the Flowers is here, and I'm tuned into Intro to Info with my girl Mikeisha. All love, always.
Well, hello. Welcome to today's episode of Intro to Info. I'm your host, Mikeisha, and today is April 16th, 2026. So glad that you could join us today, whether you're listening live or in the archive podcast. Tam and Queen of Hearts will be joining us momentarily, but our special guest joins us. This is uncharted waters. I can't wait to delve into this conversation. Let me introduce you to our guest, Ms. Lauren Gabrielle Foster. Miss Lauren Gabrielle Foster is a writer, spiritual guide, moving meditation teacher, and global nomad who, at 58, sold everything and traded a settled life for one lived in motion through jungles, temple towns, coastlines, and ordinary moments that turn out to be anything but. Now 60 and somewhere between New Zealand and wherever's next, Lauren writes about what she finds, the sacred hiding in unremarkable, the wisdom available in discomfort, the freedom that becomes possible when women stop waiting for permission. Her Substack, Everyday Magic, The Sacred Ordinary, and her weekly insight timer, Practice Daily Body Magic, serve women in midlife who are done with dogma, but not done with depth. She is currently gathering material for a book series, mined from years of travel journals and the surprising places meaning shows up when you're paying attention. Lauren, thank you so much for agreeing to be our guest this evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I love the intro music. I love the introduction. I feel like a star.
You are a star.
Thank you.
Let us get to know you just a little bit more. Let me start by asking you this. At 58, you sold everything and chose a life in motion. What was the exact moment you knew I can't stay the same anymore?
It was a series of small moments. It's like the universe is. I spent 10 years as a virtual hermit on the side of a mountain in the Appalachian Mountains of East Tennessee with just my dogs and cats in the forest and the bears and the squirrels, and um, really just isolated and very, very content, supporting myself by doing advertising sales as a freelance operator. So that was paying the bills, but I was building this business, this tenuous thing that I'm trying to create called Be Happy First on the side. So at the end of 2022, I lost my freelance contract and I had to decide, do I get another one? Or do I try to figure out how to focus all of my energy and attention into my heart business? And that was the way I decided to go. So in the meantime, to keep the lights on, I was driving for Uber. I was driving for Lyft. I Airbnb'd my house and then just went to my family's and rented my house out. And so I was trying to figure out how I could have this life that I had and build the new life that I wanted as well. But it became apparent pretty quickly that I couldn't. I was spending all of my time just trying to keep a roof over my head and a car in the driveway. And so I gradually decided that it was time for my stuff to pay for my life instead of my life paying for my stuff. And in the meantime, I also had a dog and like 6 cats. And I was like, oh, I can't just take off. I've got all these animals depending on me. And then one by one, 3 of my cats were swallowed up by the forest. Some predator, something took them. And I said, okay, universe, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll sell everything and I'll go. And as soon as I decided, it was my house sold in 2 weeks and everything just went click, 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 click into place. Found an amazing home for my cats that they're living in paradise. And my dog is with my family. And so everything just worked out exactly right. So there wasn't a moment. It was a struggle. There were a lot of things that I had to sacrifice in order to choose this way of life, and letting go of each of those. All of my books, all of my possessions, my beautiful little fairy cottage cabin in the woods, my cats, my dog, all my security and stableness in having a in one place home. All of those things had to be sacrificed in order to go on this journey. And that's how it happened.
Wow. Wow, you are one of a kind in that sense. I've never met anybody who did that, took such a risk. So as far as like a residence, talk to us more about like where where you live. So you don't live in a traditional home of any kind.
Nope.
So
No,
tell us more about that.
okay. So and I left I left immediately from my little cabin and stayed with my family for about 6 weeks in Middle Tennessee. And I did ask them all to promise that I could come and sleep on their couch or their spare room or their barn if if something went wrong. So I have a soft place to fall if everything goes crazy out here. But at last count, I had slept in 60 different beds in the last 2 years. So usually I try to stay about a month in each place so that I really get to be immersed in the community and the culture and really know what the place is about. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes I'm just, kind of hopping around. A lot of I started my journey in South America where things are very affordable. So I would just stay in Airbnbs and I explored Peru and Costa Rica in that way. But when I came over to Europe and the UK, things are not that affordable. And so I discovered pet sitting as a means of securing lodging. And it turned out to be the very best part because, you meet people and they hand over their beloved pets to you for, a week, 2 weeks, 8 weeks, sometimes even longer. And, you're communicating back and forth about their fur babies and spending time with them before and after. And you really create a family there. I've made friends all over the world in this way. And if I woke up tomorrow a millionaire, I would still be a pet sitter because you're instantly a part of the community and a part of the neighborhood and a part of that family. And that gets to be my home for a little while. And, and I care for it as if it were. Right. So sacred spaces and, the sacred service to care for our beloved pets it's really, really poignant and real and part of the magic of this journey.
I can imagine that there is it's very fun and adventurous with what it is that you have happening. But this is not monotony. This is not living in a matrix. This is the antithesis of that. And you probably have seen a lot and learned yourself a lot because you're in all these different, environments and having to adapt and survive. Right? Is that so?
Yes, that is absolutely so. And we don't even know how many stereotypes we have in our heads until we go out and witness the world as it really is and figure it out. So for instance, the first one, I was like, oh, I'll just pop into a couple of countries in South America because it's South America. It's all the same. It's vastly different. Country to country are there entirely different cultures and entirely different climates. And hi, Lamb Tam just popped up on the screen.
Rika.
Yay. Yeah. And just listening. Yeah, you learn so much about yourself when you are willing to be uncomfortable. You're willing to take risks. You're willing to go and put yourself somewhere new and figure out. As a traveler, there's this beautiful balance of being honoring and respecting and fitting in with the culture that you're in, but still retaining your own identity. You know, not giving up who you are, but being an involved observer that is just deeply entrenched. Again, it's even hard to describe. She's like, how do I honor the Hindu tradition that I lived in for a while in India and throughout Asia, and dress modestly and stay with their customs, but still keep my own identity. And it's brilliant, and it's expanding, and it's enlightening. I really made the right choice to go on this quest.
Wonderful. Now, I'm wondering how you were when you were growing up. Were you somebody who was inquisitive, curious, or were you just somebody who was practical and predictable?
I was always in trouble. I was always inquisitive. I was always curious. I was caught like 11 miles when I was 11 years old. I was caught very far from my home on my horse with my best friend. We were on our horses in our underwear, pretending we were, I don't know, Indians. Yeah, and when I wrote my book, Happy and Free on Purpose, in 2021, I counted back how many times I have moved up to that point in my life. So if I'm 60 now, I was what, 51 then? No, math is not my thing, but 2021, however old I was, I had moved 21 times already up to that point in my life. Yeah, and the longest I had ever lived in one place as an adult was 7 years. So I had this nomadic spirit, but in those days, it was more of, I've screwed my life up so completely, I've got to run away and start again. And and seeking outward for happiness and fulfillment and something to make me feel whole. And then I had the 10-year hermit phase where I really got immersed in the forest and the mountains, and lots and lots and lots of alone time getting to know myself, and came back to where I am. And now I'm joyful no matter where I am. So whenever I am moving on, it's in order to witness, to experience, to learn and grow, and hopefully to be sharing my gifts as I go, throughout the world.
I'm very interested to know the differences between U.S. citizens versus, I'll say, countries in general abroad.
There are weird little random differences about the way we live. Like, for instance, almost everybody in the United States has a clothes dryer. Almost everybody in the rest of the world hangs their clothes out to dry. That they just don't do they consider dryers to be a waste of energy, environmentally unfriendly, and they hang their things out to dry. That's just a fascinating little thing. But as far as the way human beings are, the normal, ordinary U.S. citizen is very much like everyone else in the world. We are much more alike than we are different. And, one really interesting, in this political shitstorm that we're in, I should have asked if I'm allowed to say cuss words or not.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. I was having a conversation in Laos with a young couple. He was from England. She was from Venezuela, but they live in China. So, there's people all over the world. And so we were talking about the relationship between the United States and Venezuela. It's not good. Venezuela is not a safe place to go right this minute because of, the feuding and stuff. But what came out of the conversation is that none of us really like anybody's government, but we still like each other. So his exact comment was, no, I don't like the American government, but I've loved every American I ever met. Right. So we as people are beautiful and genuine all over the world when you take away the things that are dividing us and pitting us against each other,
That is so true. That is so true. I'm imagining myself doing what it is that you have done, Lauren, and I could just see myself like, whoa, this is too much, like, instability. I need to have a place to live, and I need to stay. And that's me, is like me imagining myself in your circumstance. And I'm wondering, because Tamika, I'm wondering if you were living a nomadic lifestyle, Tamika, with like Lauren is thriving. I think you're content and happy doing this. But me, I would need a little bit more. If I did it, I would have to have a place where I had that I live, like a home that I could always go back to, you see. Tam, what about you? Could you live a nomadic life, Tam?
I think I could do it. I think we're spoiled by all the things that we have. Like she said, people hanging up their clothes. My great grandparents used to do that. You know what I mean? It's not even really. It's just living a simpler life. You know what I mean? Hanging up clothes is a tradition that you can pass down. You can do with your children. You know, teaching them things and it's nothing like having the smell of the sun drying your sheets. Like you can't get that from something out of a store. And that's just something that you don't even experience nowadays. You know, everything is automatic. Everything is right now, you know. So I love those things. I don't know if I would want to do it completely full time, but I definitely can see myself off the grid for a while just to get away. I think we have too many distractions out here that just don't allow us to walk out in the grass and, be grounded and just take everything in that we have around us. Listen to the butterflies, listen to the birds in the morning. You know what I mean?
So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I could see myself. Yeah.
Because the greater difference among countries so the people here in this country and the people here in this country, very similar, but in cities and in the country, there's a bigger difference there within the same country. So like someone who lives in the heart of New York City and is surrounded by concrete every moment, and my life in the mountains surrounded by trees every moment, there's just a completely different feeling in every country. As soon as you land in the airport and then get out of the city, the further you get from the city, the more relaxed, the happier, the more grounded. I feel like we as a race, what do you call us, a species, human beings are suffering from being separated from the earth and we're what birthed us in the first place. And now the Queen of Hearts is here.
Yes, she is. Queen of Hearts, welcome. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, glad to see you, baby.
Yes, hi. How are you, Miss Foster? How everybody doing?
So the gang's all here. Lauren, I want to go back to what you said about how you said sometimes these political things get in the way of how we connect, and the socioeconomic factors get in the way of how we connect. And if they were not a part of the equation, we would get along so much better. Matter of fact, Dr. Martin Luther King said something similar. He said, basically, we hate each other because we don't know each other, because we're pitted against each other. It's basically, it boiled down to, it's all this stuff in the way of us genuinely connecting. So I love that you said that, and you would know more so than myself, as somebody who has traveled this world. So you just taught me something. This is very educational. I mean, you guys are tuned into Intro to Info with your host Mikeisha, Queen of Hearts, and Wham Tam, and our special guest Ms. Lauren Foster, who was breaking down some stuff. She's in New Zealand. Let me say this. Ooh. Lauren she's in New Zealand, and so here in the United States it's Thursday, but it's Friday where she is, and that background is a real background. That's really what's behind her. Go ahead, Queen of Hearts.
I was wondering if that's the real background or if that's a screensaver. I mean, like a filter, but it is so beautiful. Can I come over there? Can I quantum leap over there?
Yeah, and also, Mikeisha, it is because it's almost winter here. So we're literally on the opposite side of the world. So you're going into spring and I'm going into winter.
Wow.
Who knew?
I know.
Well, if
And
that is winter, I want it.
So it's Friday. What time where you're located?
1:20 in the afternoon, 1:20 p.m. Friday afternoon. So
Mm.
I'm in the future, guys. You
Wow.
don't have anything to worry about. It's all beautiful in the future.
But are they on the same year like there? Because I know some countries, they're not in 2026. They're like 2018 or other years. What years they saying that they're in New Zealand?
This is the same year. I've never been any place that there was a different year, but I did celebrate my birthday twice this year when I turned 60, because I celebrated it in New Zealand last year, and then I flew over the international date line to the day before into Rarotonga, a little island in the Cook Islands, and celebrated my birthday again.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool. Yeah. And, yeah, I don't want us to gloss over what you said, Mikeisha, about letting political differences or other differences of opinion divide us. And if we were to instead be completely curious about each other's point of view, like, oh, I'm so curious about what you think. I'm so curious about why you think that. I'm so curious about who told you that, right? And instead of letting everything be, oh, this is what I believe, and if you believe something different, then we have something else. None of us really knows the truth of anything ever, unless we were actually there. And then even if we saw it, whatever we see is framed through our own lens, our own perspective that was shaped by our lives. So there's almost no such thing as a truth, right? And so celebrating diversity, going, oh my gosh, I want to be with people who are as different than me as I can imagine, so that I can learn from them, so that I can see things in a different way. That's how I felt in India. And in India, I was a tourist attraction. Everywhere I went, the Indian people wanted to come and have their picture taken with me. And I researched that, and that especially for young people, they love to post pictures with foreigners on their social media. It just like expands their world. And they're like, look how worldly I am. I have American friends. It's right. So so the places that I visit, I've always been welcomed. I've always been that they want to learn about my culture too. They want to learn about the things that I'm discovering in my travels. So yeah, well, we have the ability to be bonded together, and as we are all one, if we choose it, and we have to each individually make that choice.
I definitely.
Yes.
I know, Quinn, you have a question or comment?
No, I was gonna just piggyback on what she said and said we view it through without biased eyes. You know what I'm saying? From what we was brainwashed, or like she said, the truth that wasn't told, we was taught differently, and we go into things like she's going into without biased eyes through different lenses. You can see how fruitful this world is and everybody in it, but some of us can't see past that, can't see past our nose.
Yeah. Well, and we start getting messages when we are so young from our teachers, from our institutions, from our religions, all the teaching us all kinds of things that get so firmly embedded in our minds that it is difficult to get them back out and to change your way of thinking. I went for decades being a very unspiritual person because I was taught in the church basically that you're dirty, you're unworthy, and you'll never be worthy, but you better keep trying and be a good girl or you're going to go to hell. I'm like, I can't do any of this. I'm just going to go off and be bad. Right. And, and abuse my body and make poor choices and not value myself. And, so it took a long time for me to gradually switch that back around to having self-worth, to having a true spirituality, which is very individual between you and your maker, you and this space you occupy in all of cosmos, and whatever names you want to give to the force that beats your heart. That's where you get the courage to do things that you've never done before, is feeling held and witnessed and a part of the universe. Huh, that was profound. I hope this is recorded.
Yes, live and in rewind, as Snitchy Smurf would say. Nicole,
Yeah.
have you been to a place where they were not English speakers, and if so, how did you survive that? Navigate that?
Yes. Several actually. Strangely enough, the first one was Norway. I went and you would think that, that's a European country, that English would be pretty common, but I stayed on a little island that was on a little fishing village. That was just there was very little there, not a lot of tourism, not a lot of reason to learn English. And all of their groceries, when you go to the grocery store, everything was written in Norwegian, and it was difficult. I looked at a lot of pictures. And at that time, I was pet sitting for a cat and 3 chinchillas. Do you know what a chinchilla is?
Ooh.
I should have given you a picture. It's a little creature that's like a cross between a rabbit and a mouse and a squirrel. They're just sweet little rodents, I guess. And so I was pretty solitary in the 6 or 8 weeks that I was there in Norway. So I didn't make a lot of friends there or anything like that. And then where else was the language very difficult? That probably was the most. Oh, India. So thankfully they have Uber. So you can put where you want to go and hop in a little tuk-tuk to go where you want to go without trying to speak the addresses, names of the places. So there's always ways to work around, and Google Translate works for finding your way. Yeah. Did that answer your question at all?
Absolutely, it answered my question, and it has me. I'm just processing what you said, because it made you expand your mind probably on the spot, because you had to think your way through this, and that's not like a common thing that you have to think your way through, and you had to keep doing this. Do you know what that would do to somebody's mind, like in the way of expansion? I'm very impressed with you, and it teaches outside the box thinking, and I promote that, and I'm learning. That's why I stood still for a second, because I said, okay, that's how you would do that. And so
Yeah.
I hope that this is an education to others who are listening. Tamika, I could go on and on. I know you probably have a question before I just go on my soapbox and my tangent. Go ahead. The floor is yours. Tamika has a lag.
Yes. There she goes.
Oh, she does. Okay.
I have a little bit. So I guess telling me some of the favorite countries that you like, maybe your top 5 that you would definitely go back and visit, or what you would recommend that we visit. Also, what is it like to? I know y'all gonna laugh. So I have never been outside of the country. I've been all over the US, but not outside the country. And they always say black everywhere. So I'm like, is that true? I mean, I know people have brown skin, and but I mean, are there truly not African American, just black people? Are they everywhere you've been?
Yeah, most definitely. And actually, Indian people are even darker way darker than the two of you. The true Indian people, their skin is very black. And let's see. Also in Nepal, they're also very dark, but not as dark as Indians. South America, Costa Rica, and Peru, the Peruvians. So this was something that another stereotype, right? I thought that when I went to Ireland, everybody would have red hair and green eyes and alabaster skin, and
Right.
yeah, right. But in Ireland, I mean, there were plenty of black people in Ireland. Also, all of the places in Europe that I went, there were black people. But you couldn't really tell where anybody was from until they spoke. It's like you can't tell by looking where anybody is from until they say something and you hear their accent, right? So Irish people, that they all looked alike. Now there are some differences. Indian people look very distinct, and Nepali people have a distinct look, and Peruvian people have a distinctive look that is, unique to them. But for the most part, we're all mixed together. Everybody, everybody is all mixed together. We all are starting to look exactly the same.
And then I know she asked you, what are some of your favorite countries?
Favorite countries. See, that keeps changing all the time. But I always say, like, yeah, I don't know, but I love New Zealand. The people here are just so incredibly open and generous, and the country is, as you can see, so beautiful, and it's beautiful everywhere. But I just recently spent time in Northern Australia, in Northern Queensland, and that is the oldest surviving rainforest in the world. And I absolutely fell in love with that. It was just unspeakably beautiful and alive, and the jungle, and so there's a difference. In New Zealand doesn't have any snakes. It doesn't have tigers or bears or any kind of predators out in the wild. They don't even have any poisonous spiders. This was an island of only birds until humans from other continents brought over other animals, and now possums are wrecking the ecosystem, things like that. But in Australia, there are 40 species of snakes. No big predators, though, except for crocodiles. So New Zealand and Australia are up there on my list, very, very high. I love Northern England, and I love Ireland. And the fifth one would probably be, I haven't been there yet on this trip, but I went there before, is Guatemala and the Lake Atitlan region. Those off the top of my head are my top 5.
40 snakes. I only like 2 snakes that I play with. You said 40. I don't know about that. That makes me think about the video that I saw over. I want to say it was in India or somewhere in the Middle East, and they kept complaining about the noise in the roof. So they hired somebody to come in and checked it. And when they pushed up the towel, I mean, all kinds of snakes fell out from the roof down on the floor and was crawling everywhere. I said, that's what I would have exited and said, okay, Lord, take me now. That was way too many. I like pythons and I like boa constrictors. I will play with those. Outside of those 2, no. 40
species, 42 species, I think, is something like that, of the snakes that they love the nice, wet, moist rainforest jungle.
And most of them are venomous.
No, not most of them. No. I'm not sure how many, maybe 10 or less. Not sure about it. Not sure. I didn't actually check the venomous number. I know there's a brown snake that can be actually aggressive. that is poisonous, but doesn't kill you. But people still die in India from snake bites if they don't get the proper medical attention right away. I met an Indian couple in Vienna, actually, who her father died from a cobra bite and a king snake, but only because he didn't get the proper medical attention. He could have survived it, but yeah, snake bites are pretty common in India, in the rural areas.
So I know not to visit India.
Lauren Gabrielle Foster is our guest. Lauren, you know, the more and more I listen to you, you're doing the thing that people say that is one of the best things that you can do to say that you have lived a full life. When they say pay for experiences and not material things, they say travel the world, see how people live in different cultures. That is like the apex of life. People, multimillionaires, billionaires, they say it this is the thing. If you were able to do that, you've done the thing of life. And I don't know if you guys have heard that before, but that has to be a feel. The fact that you've done that, and
Yeah.
I love this. This is so amazing. You're teaching me so much.
Thank you. Well, so my friend here flies this tiny little plane. I mean, literally, there's room for your body, two bodies, and the little dashboard, and then the rest of it is wings. It's so small that she just rolls it out of the hangar by hand, and she took me up in this plane. And as I was getting in, I'm like, you know what? If I die in a plane crash like this, I've lived my life. I have zero regrets. If I were struck down tomorrow, I'd be all right. I'm good for the next, whatever comes next after I leave this body. Because yeah, I've not that I'm ready. I still want to do a lot more, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I get that, and that's very profound. I want to ask you, what scared you the most before you left, and what turned out to be completely different than you expected?
What scared me the most? Well, driving on the left is the scariest thing that I have done while I'm here. I'm not a good passenger at all in a car. I just never think anybody is a good enough driver. And in the States, I was an outstanding driver, but when I got over, most of the world drives on the left, and I avoided it as much as I could, because everything feels so alien and it's terrifying. But I've gotten over that. But you can only get through your fears and after you face them, right? Face them down, let them go, work through them. What surprised me the most, back right around to the stereotype thing, that how much stereotypical information was in my mind. And it happened again when I got to Asia. It's like, oh, well, so Kathmandu is going to be very much like Bangkok, or not Bangkok,
Mhm.
but Chennai, the city that I was leaving in India, was not very far to go to Kathmandu, into Nepal, another big Asian city, but they were worlds apart. And something like that stereotype tried to get back in my brain again. And it just have to get, you know what? Every country has its own identity, its own culture, its own everything. So don't be expecting to cross a border and find the same thing that you left behind. That was the most surprising thing. And the diversity of the way, the little neighborhood that I stayed at in Nepal, it's actually a good sized tourist town called Pokhara. But the community that I was staying in, they have one TV in the neighborhood. So they'll gather at the end of the day, and if they all want to watch a movie or something, they'll all just go to that house. We have a TV in every room in most houses in the
Sure
States.
do, Lauren.
Yeah. But everyone has a cell phone. There was a guy walking down the road herding his sheep down the road, looking at his phone. Like, yeah, this is interesting. I'm herding my goats down this remote road in India or Nepal, watching a movie on my phone.
Wow. I know that driving on the left side, that is very confusing, because we went to go visit the Bahamas. My kids was freaking out when we was in the taxi. Hey, tell him he on the wrong side. We're going to crash. And I'm like, no, that's what they do in other countries, European countries and other, countries. They just drive on the opposite. And they was freaking out too, because the steering wheel was on the opposite side. And they're like, how they gonna handle it? And I'm like, they have it under control. Let them do their job. Sit back, relax, and take in the scenery. That's
Right.
we're here to enjoy ourselves. Let them handle their job. But it was kind of different, like you say, seeing them on the opposite side, doing the turns, a lot of roundabouts and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wow, you would never know until you can actually physically, like Mikeisha say, go there, experience the different culture and how they live, how they dress, how they move, how they network, and you just sit back and be in awe. Because what you see on TV versus being there real time, totally opposite, different.
It's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Lauren, how did your sense of identity change once you were no longer tied to a home routine or traditional structure?
My sense of identity. So one of the things that happened while I was back in that mountain retreat, being a hermit, is I'm a spiritual teacher and a life coach and all of those things, and I'm trying to teach women to be, don't let the world upset you. Be strong in yourself. And I was so proud of myself because I was so good at that. But anybody can be calm and zen on the side of a mountain surrounded by dogs and cats and trees, right? There's that's not really much of an accomplishment. So when I started when I started driving for Uber and in that last transitional year, I started realizing how being challenged by circumstances out in the world is what helps you grow. And one of my first transitions, I had to fly back through Miami on the way to Canada from Peru. And I found the people in the Miami airport to be just incredibly rude. Every single one of them, from the person that helped me on the plane to the baggage handlers to the security people, they were all just treating us like cattle. And they all but had cattle prods on us long to get us going. And I was so furious and so upset. And had a long layover there. So I was sitting on the floor. The airport was so crappy. They didn't even have a place to sit and type on your laptop. So I'm typing all this stuff out and venting all this. And then I got the revelation that this is the gift. This is when you're able to be in a situation that it just sucks in every direction. And you're like, you know what? I'm all right with this. It'll be over soon. That's when you really have sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried from that moment on to be even better at being in the flow, being adaptable, being expectant of everything working out, which it always does. Usually it works out even better than you could ever have imagined. And so I don't have my flight. I'm headed back to Scotland in June, and I don't have my flight back. And they're canceling flights all the time because of fuel prices and the war and all this stuff. And just like, it'll be all right. And so that's the identity. Is I've gotten very, very good at not worrying about things that I can't control, and not worrying about things that haven't happened yet. And letting life unfold and embracing all the joy of the moment, and taking every second to look at this view. I mean, oh my gosh, all the power and all of our joys in the moment, and I'm there. Have no idea if that really answered your question or not.
Lauren, I'm so into zodiac, and I would love to know. Can you tell me your sign?
I am a Leo.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. Okay, good. Wow.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
And I don't know if you answered this already before I chimed in. Do you currently have dual citizenship in more than one location? No?
Nope. And as far as I'm concerned, that's like the holy grail, to have dual citizenship, or at least a second passport. That's another level of global freedom that you can get. And there are ways to go about it that I may eventually at some point. When I was in Nepal, my friend, beautiful young girl, she says, "Oh, if you ever want to do business or anything in Nepal, I can find you someone to marry. You just have to pay them a couple of $100s a month. And you can get married in name only, and then operate in Nepal like a normal person. They don't care. And when you leave and go away forever, that you don't even have to divorce them because it doesn't mean anything to them." It's like, oh yeah.
Wow. So they don't offer like what we do over here, where they give you like a work visa with the work grant and give you so much money to start your own business over here in the United States. They don't do that in Nepal or any of the other countries?
I'm not sure about that. I didn't even know that the United States did that. They do. Interesting.
Yeah, that's how they get a lot of the gas stations and other things, because they come over here on a work visa and they get like 40,000 grant money that they don't have to pay back or more.
I was not aware of that at all. No. But so the way that I am traveling, I'm usually not, and every country has different laws about how long you can stay.
Mhm.
Usually it's more or less around 90 days. So the UK is much more generous. You can stay for 6 months. And then if you leave for one day and come back, it restarts the clock. Whereas the Schengen region, which is most of Europe and some other countries around, you can only stay 90 days in any 6-month period. So if you stay for 2 weeks and leave and come back for 2 weeks, that all just adds up. And if you overstay your welcome, you don't get to come back. You know, every
Wow.
country in the world has immigration laws, and if I come here and say I'm going to leave after a certain amount of time and I don't do it, that they'll send me home, and they will never they don't let you come back. It's quite strict. Some more strict than others, but yeah, and nowhere in the world can you just fly in and hop off the plane and say, I'm gonna stay as long as I want. You got to say, usually you have to show a return ticket that I've already booked my ticket to leave. I promise I'm leaving. I'm not going to stay forever. So
Wow.
yeah, and it's interesting to me that the United States gets such a,
Mm.
I mean, not to get into the messy parts of ICE and all of that. And of course, there are horrible atrocities going on, but being firm about immigration is something the whole world does. So I'm not sure why everybody gets so mad at us for being firm about immigration. It's I don't know. It's a very, the most important thing that I have learned about everything and every question is there's almost never a simple answer. And there's usually way more than even two sides to a story. Like, this came up in Nepal. They breed elephants to work in the state park. And I'm a giant animal lover. I think animals' rights should be equal to humans. And so I may be way out there on that, but I've really struggled with the idea of elephants being used as beast burdens and all that. And giving rides to tourists, that really bugs me. But at the same time, the person that has that elephant, that may be the only way they can feed their family. That may be the only source of income that they have, is letting people ride their elephant. So you can't just say, no, this is wrong, and ignore all of the consequences and circumstances that are around it. Again, I can't seem to answer a simple question without going off on a tangent. I'm sorry, Mikeisha.
I'm here for it. This is what we invited you on the show for. And I told you when we were on the call with our producer that this is uncharted waters. And so please teach what you know, teach what you have learned, because this is something we've never tackled before. And I'm telling you, child, I'm fascinated. I've tried to stay poised, but inside I'm like, wow, this is so cool.
Right.
There is one thing that it's really important to share in that, so my quest is to help middle-aged women to break free of the rules and the roles and the identity that society has put on us. And so, I like to say, figure out who you are, discover who you are, be that, no matter what anybody else says. And for me, that meant hopping on an airplane and seeing the world, but that's not necessarily what it means for every other woman. You can do so many different things that are aligned with the true desire of your heart and who you are and how you came here to express yourself and to be, right? So, yeah, now I do think everyone should stretch themselves a little bit and get out of your comfort zone and let yourself grow, but you don't have to cross the globe to do that. You can do that a million different ways.
And I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of times we always hear, stay in your age range. Don't do this because you're too old, or, what I'm saying? We put stipulations on things that shouldn't have stipulations, and put people in that bubble when they ready to, like you say, bust out that bubble and be themselves. But they're like, oh, we worry about what the next person going to say or how they're going to perceive us and things like that. But I'm glad that you said what you said, because I'm hearing a lot of our hearing other women speaking out saying the same thing, and they're like, hey, you're not going to tell me I can't do this or whatever because you're afraid to do that. Now you're projecting your fears over on me because you want me to do what you do, and I'm not. I'm going to be me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you said a really important thing about caring so much about what other people think. I couldn't do this if I did that, because I stumble into situations all the time where I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to act. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to wear. I don't know anything. If I'm not willing to just jump in and say, okay, what's going on? If I'm worried about looking foolish, might as well go back home and stay in my nephew's barn. Yeah. You can't worry about looking stupid. And, I went to a Ceilidh. I've heard it said different ways, but it's spelled Ceilli. And it's an Irish dance when I was up in Ireland. And it was magnificent. This group of women just brought me in and taught me all the dances and all the stuff. But I looked around and there was maybe 5 men in the whole place. Everything else was women dancing with each other, because men are afraid of looking foolish. They're afraid of looking unmasculine. They're afraid of looking like they're not perfect at something, or I don't know, all kinds of things. That women in general are much bolder and more courageous than. I'm gonna not finish that sentence, because generalities are never ever a good idea. There are many bold and courageous and wonderful men in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are. Now, Lauren, you talk about women not wanting permission or needing permission. What does permission look like in real life, and why do so many of us wait for it?
Well, so in real life, there's something that you want to do, but you feel inhibited or afraid, or like you will be seen as bad or different or wrong or weird, but then someone else steps out and has the courage to do it. That is giving that you give yourself permission because you've witnessed it being done before, right? So, but we can claim that power for ourselves and say, I give myself the permission. I'll go first. I don't have to wait for somebody else to go first. I don't have to wait for somebody else to say, this is how it's done, and this is what's acceptable, and this is how you're to be, right? So we all have a deep, deep, endless reservoir of wisdom right inside our bodies, ancestral wisdom, intuitive wisdom, every thought that was ever thought we have access to just through this being and the energy that's around us. But we don't trust it because we're taught all our lives, oh, your mother knows better, oh, your dad knows better, your teacher knows better, your preacher knows better. Don't listen to your own intuition, listen to what everybody else is saying, and then we forget how. So we just have to start practicing and remember. And you'll see it in your life. You'll go, I knew that was the wrong thing to do. My gut told me not to do that, and I did it anyway, and look what happened. Or my gut told me to do it, and I didn't, and look what happened. I wish I had trusted my gut. I wish I had trusted my own intuition.
Now, some people might be watching this and say, Lauren, she have been nowhere but New Zealand, but we got pictures. We have pictures of Lauren across the globe trotting, and our producer wants to post them up so people can see. And Lauren, give us a quick snapshot of like a small blurb about each picture that we post up, okay?
Okay, happily. Yeah. Okay, this is one of the dogs that I got to pet sit. You see, I'm all bundled up and chilly. That is in Scotland. And that dog's name is Clancy, and he sings. I have a video of him singing along while I'm playing the ukulele. And that is in a little town called Ballydehob, Ireland. And I was just there waiting for the bus, and I saw that pretty little basket of flowers, and I actually put on a little lipstick that day. So I snapped a selfie just to show the little Irish street. That is called Aphrodite's Rock, and it's in Cyprus. Cyprus is an island that is part Greek and part Turkish. The ownership of the island is deeply contested. And my friend, who I was pet sitting her dog and cat, took that picture. one day at the beach.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And this is the entrance to the elephant breeding center in Nepal. Peacocks are not usually this easy to see. They are sacred birds in Nepal and not hunted or anything like that, but they're usually wilder and further away. So it was nice that I got to be that close to that peacock. And the person who took the picture was my guide on safari, who helped me look for rhinos and elephants. And okay, I think the next picture is actually in the river. That's the same river nearby in Nepal, where we were on an early morning boat ride looking for crocodiles in the river. Yeah. Oh, that's my Facebook page.
So people are free to reach out to you or follow you on Facebook.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I share a few things as often as I can think of it on Facebook. And I have a publication called Everyday Magic, The Sacred Ordinary, that's where I go into depth about the things I'm experiencing and the lessons I'm learning and how, we weave those. The sacred ordinary means that, we're having a sacred moment right this minute, the four of us. This is amazing and special because we say it is and we make it so with our attention. Right. Mm-hmm. And you can do the same thing with cleaning a toilet or, every moment is sacred if we say it is. And when you make the ordinary sacred, then all of your life is blessed every single moment. Yeah. So those are the things that I write about over on my Substack publication.
You believe in manifestation, I see.
Manifestation and law of attraction, all of those things, all of those words get overused, but it's so true that to me, the law of attraction means you attract what you are. And when you are a person who is curious and interested and excited and looking for beauty and ready for adventures and new fun people, when you're in that vibration, can you see the cat walking by behind me?
Yeah, oh my goodness.
That's it. Her name is Jewel. She's exploring on the edge of the plants there. But when you are that kind of receiver, that's the frequency that the universe brings you. And I've proven it to myself day after day after day after day. When you are pissing and moaning on the floor of the Miami airport, things just get worse and worse and worse. When you are going, you know what amazing thing is going to come along next? That's what happens. And it just gets better and better. And some days I'm like, I can't even imagine my life being any better. And it gets even better. Yeah.
I think that is a fantastic place to end, a profound place to end. This hour flew by. Lauren.
Hold on, Mikeisha. I know y'all hear the wind chimes in the background. I hear the wind chimes.
You hear what?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's making its own song, its own melody. You didn't hear it?
I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All of this is very different. Hey, Tam, where Lauren is very different from the Anacostia River, isn't it?
And not only that, I mean, she talked about vibration and the timer was on. It was perfect. You talk about vibration and then the wind chimes decided to go. God say, I'm here. I hear you.
That's
here
right.
you go.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Thank you for being our special guest today. You were a fantastic guest. And I want to have other topics that we never have spoken about before. Lauren, please stay in touch with me. You could teach a lot of people a lot of things. Tam and Queen of Hearts, thank you for being gracious host at my side. Of course, Nicole Snitchy Smurf, poet. Thank you for being a wonderful producer, and I thank the J King Network for having us. I want you all to have a great week next week. And Lauren, any closing words before we shut down tonight?
No, that I'm good. Just discover who you are and be that. That's all anybody needs to say.
Thank you, guys. Good night. Until next time. We love you.
Bye.
Okay.